Hello, everyone, and hold on.
You had one job.
Shut. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the LA Dude podcast, where we talk about all things from comics to movies to video games and everything in between. Today, I'm joined by our musical engineer Chance for a one-on-one conversation about the latest upcoming video game, God of War Ragnarok, which releases on November 9th, 2022.
Indeed.
Now, this one is a special one for me and Chance because we both love the... I don't want to say... It's not the original, because it's the fourth one, technically. Fourth main game title.
What, 2018?
2018's God of War PS4. Like I said, it is the fourth game in the series, fourth main game, because you had God of War 2, and God of War 3 on the PS2 and the PS3. And then you have God of War 4, which takes place instead of the Greek world, takes place in the Norse mythology, which was a good change of pace. And I loved it, because I love Norse mythology. It was one of my... When you look at mythologies, I really like that one, like over Greek or even Egyptian or anything like that. It's just very interesting to me. And all the Viking stuff. Yeah, and the culture
Behind it was pretty good.
Like the Germanic, Nordic tribes and everything. It's just really interesting to me. Because they were, just going off on a tangent, the Norse people, the Vikings, were a lot cleaner and a lot more efficient than their English counterparts. Or, I say English, their Anglo-Saxon counterparts in what would become England. Because they would bathe, and the English would not. And they thought that was very barbaric. Which is really weird. But, anyway, God of War Ragnarok, set to release soon. As of recording, 1 week away. Very interesting. And this episode is all about the hype towards the game, maybe even some final predictions. So, Chance, I will start off with, you recently replayed the first game on the PS5.
Oh, yeah.
You streamed it. How many episodes did you stream? Or parts, I should say.
I want to say probably 9. Maybe.
9 parts?
Maybe, depending on how long I played for each day.
Did you do the main story quests? Did you do any side quests, Valkyrie missions?
I did the main story first, and then I think I streamed one of the Valkyrie fights after.
The Valkyries were hard.
Dude, you're telling me. I tried to...
I mean, we both did it, but...
I tried taking on the, another one here recently, and I was like, nope, can't do it.
So if you don't know, in God of War 2018, like I said, it takes place in the Norse world, Norse pantheon. There are side quests in it, and some of them involve having to free the Valkyries. The Valkyries have been imprisoned by Odin after the, spoiler, Queen Freya has been stripped of her wings, stripped of her power, and cast off into Midgard. I'll get into the realms in a second, because I feel like that kind of needs to be explained if you don't know what it is, or if you lost touch or anything like that. But the Valkyries are spread across all of the available realms.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Midgard, Niflheim.
No. Muspelheim.
Okay. So Midgard, Muspelheim, Alfheim, I'm pretty sure. Helheim, I think.
I don't think we were able to go to Niflheim in this game.
Maybe not. So I know it was definitely Midgard, Muspelheim, Alfheim. I want to say Helheim had one.
Yes.
There was at least 2 in Midgard.
If I'm remembering correct. No, there was more than just 2.
Yeah, there was a good many in... Okay, so that's good.
When you fight them all, or get them all on the, at the council, you fight the queen.
Yeah. Or presumably the queen. I mean, she is, but she's the one that took over after the fact. But that's a good segue, because there are 9 realms in Norse mythology. And those 9 realms are Asgard, Nidavellir, or Svartalfheim. I think they call it Svartalfheim in the game. Midgard, Jotunheim, Vanaheim, Niflheim, Muspelheim. and Hell or Helheim. Each realm being specific to certain things, like Asgard is the realm of the gods,
Aesir.
the Aesir, and the Vanir. Well, no, Aesir, because Vanir is somewhere else. I can't remember where, but Jotunheim is the land of the Jotnar, the giants. Muspelheim is the land of the Muspels, or the, I guess, the fire giants, technically.
Surtur.
Yes, Surtur.
The fire giant.
Nidavellir is the land of the dwarves. Svartalfheim is the land, I believe, of the dark elves, technically. Niflheim, I don't know exactly. Alfheim is the light elves.
Niflheim, I'm pretty sure, is a frozen wasteland.
I thought that was Helheim. Because Helheim is a frozen wasteland.
Well,
where the damned souls go.
Might be both. I don't know.
Midgard is Earth. It's the land of the mortals.
Where we live.
Well, yes, but no. Where majority of the game takes place. And I believe all the realms are accessible except for Asgard.
I think Niflheim is one of those.
Asgard and Niflheim.
We couldn't...
Jotunheim technically until the end of the game.
Spoilers!
Well, it's not really spoilers as much, but...
Well, I mean, it's been out for like, I don't know how many years now. But,
it's been 4 years.
That's
Put in
insane.
perspective, I graduated high school in 2018. And that game came out in April of 2018. So, it's been out a while.
That's insane.
Because Spider-Man PS4 came out the same year, just later. So... But, yeah, the realms are a big thing, because now in Ragnarok, you can visit all the realms. I don't know how it's going to work.
Which I feel like that'd be a really cool concept. It's
yeah,
just that,
but I just don't know how it's going to work. Because in God of War 2018, the realms, some of them weren't necessarily explorable realms. They were more just obstacles for the,
you know...
Valkyries, sorry.
Something
Brain
that,
fart.
like, gets me more intrigued, though, is that from one of the trailers for God of War Ragnarok, right?
There are two Valkyries.
That, and then, like, the Muspelheim. I don't think it's going to be, like, trials, like in the first game. I think we're going to be able to go...
Yeah, it should.
Like,
That just means they design them a lot better,
because
hopefully.
that big monster that, like, you know... had the symbol on his face, or if that's what
Yeah,
you
there
call
was when like IGN posted a video of the Norse mythology guy, like a guy that's into Old Norse, and he teaches or taught about it.
Yeah.
He said that technically that symbol is an L. He said unless there is another meaning, it's just a big old L on his head. So,
Loser.
but yeah, that did kind of look like a fiery realm almost. So
I'm pretty sure that's Muspelheim. And whenever like Kratos like did that special or not special attack, but the that large attack on that beast and like defeated it supposedly, there's like a cave, I believe, that you might be able to see Surtur when you go into that cave.
And see, that's a big thing too, because finishing up with the Valkyries, you know, there was a whole thing where you freed the Valkyries. That was a side mission, and they thank you for it, and they tell you that Freya, it might be like
Or
that's
Frigg.
when Frigg, but they say Freya a lot in the game, so I think it's mostly she's known as Freya, but also Frigg
Yeah.
or Frigga. No, I
'Cause
think
know
they
Mimir said
separate
something. No, Mimir said something about like the Frigg being like a pet name. If you remember
but
that.
also it was saying that Thor's mother was not Freya, it was
Frigg.
something like that. But she was a giant.
But
But it wasn't Freya.
if you were listening to the Mimir stories, the Mimir talks about this, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've listened to all of them, but he also does mention that Thor's mother was a giant.
True.
So Thor's half giant, but he kills giants. And I think his mother's name was Frigga. Or something like that.
Which reminds me, speaking of Thor,
Well,
do you think that we could wield Mjolnir in this new game?
put a pin in that one. We'll get to that. Uh, I feel like that'd be more for predictions.
That's
But
true, but
going out like all right, so going into the Valkyries though, real quick, the Valkyries definitely play some kind of part in this in the new game.
do you think that the Valkyries that we freed will come to our aid in this game?
See, I don't know because there's two Valkyries. Obviously, they're attacking Kratos in the trailer,
Mm-hmm.
the main gameplay trailer. But we don't see Freya with her wings, so it doesn't
But
necessarily.
she transforms into that bird.
Yes, but that's also just her power. But it does say in God of War 2018 that she has searched for her wings and retrieved them. So I don't know how that's. I don't know if that's technically hidden dialogue or not.
Boss
Well, no, it's not
fight.
because it's after Jotunheim, is it not?
I think so.
Yeah, it has to be after Jotunheim. So you would already know that Freya was the queen of the Valkyries, either way. But that's when you find out that she's going back for her wings and found them, wherever they would have been. And yeah, obviously Freya is going to be one of those villains. Maybe she turns good. I don't know,
Like,
because the way they're doing it, especially with the one of the collector's editions, the big one, you get the 3 pins. One is Atreus, one is Kratos, and one is it's the third one, which is Freya. Clearly, Freya is playing a big part.
Mm-hmm.
Either obviously as a villain, because spoiler, we kill Baldur. You know, as Kratos, you kill Baldur.
And it's the start of Fimbulwinter.
Yeah, and that starts Ragnarok. So prematurely, by the way, they started
Like what? Like 5 years in advance, or
Yeah,
or
something like
100
that.
years in advance?
It's something that was supposed to happen in 100 winters.
Because I know Mimir
Started
said
too
something.
early.
It's like prophecy wasn't. The prophecy wasn't counting on you, brother.
Yeah. So Mimir is the smartest man alive in Midgard, next to that of Odin, technically.
Which it concerns me that we don't see his head in some of the trailers for the Ragnarok game.
I
Am I
think
not gonna
either going on that, I think either Mimir is either taken off and with it because you don't see Atreus in some of it either.
Playable? Question mark.
I think maybe they might split it up because Atreus he has to take over at some point.
Because it seems like Odin paid him a visit.
Paid both of them a visit, it seems like. But Mimir does talk about how the prophecy was not supposed to happen yet. It was supposed to happen for another 100 winters, 100 years.
Yeah.
But they prematurely started it with killing Baldur. So Ragnarok is starting a lot sooner. It's based like 5 years after the original game. So, or something like that. 3 to 5, I think.
Something like that.
Because obviously Atreus is older. So he has to be a little
He
older.
doesn't seem like he's much older, though.
He has a deeper voice.
Well, I mean,
he hit
fair.
puberty.
He is a young teenage boy now.
Yeah, he's a young teenager. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember how old he was technically was supposed to be, but he's older. But Freya, obviously, getting back on topic, she is a main part. She has to be.
Of course.
I think she'll turn. Maybe.
Heel or no, not heel, like face.
In wrestling terms, yes, I think she'll turn face. She'll turn into a good guy. Her main enemy is not Kratos. I mean, yeah, he killed Baldur,
But Odin.
but Odin is the one that caused her life to be hell.
Pretty much. Bound her to
So-
Midgard.
Exactly. So her goal would be to kill Odin.
You'd think, unless her rage for, Kratos killing her, like, only child.
Maybe.
Maybe
but
she might side with Odin for, like, the first half of the game. And then by the end of it, somehow Atreus or Kratos somehow convinces him that, oh, hey, we're not the bad guy
Yeah.
in this scenario. Maybe you should, like, help us take out the kingpin of this, like, Odin.
Speaking of that,
Mastermind, manipulator.
yeah, the one-eyed madman. Speaking of that, let's shift into another question. How do you think Odin will play a role? Because obviously, from the trailer, it seems like he is shown as a wanderer, like he would in the mythology. He is shown as to being a wandering man that would ask for a home to stay in for the night, some food.
About that. Because, like, you know how, like, we've learned more about the mythology here and whatnot. Like, you know how Loki and Odin had a blood oath.
Is that in the mythology, or is that in
I'm
Assassin's Creed Valhalla?
No, I'm pretty sure they had a blood oath. I'd have to go back and look, fact check myself.
Yeah.
But like, what if they're gonna like do something like that? And
See, I don't know, because if Ragnarok has already started,
yeah, but
that means that
the
everything has
line,
to go into play.
but the line that
Presumably Odin.
it was Kratos
Oh.
or Atreus in the trailer was like you like, but
Oh,
God,
when he's
what was
talking
it?
to, like, he's saying you have to trust me.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't tell
yeah,
you, you have
yeah.
to
I can't
trust
tell
me.
you, but you have to trust me.
I feel like that's more towards something that he learns from a giant, potentially. Or, like, maybe. Well, he has visions. Atreus hears voices and has visions.
But
So I think that he hears or sees something from the future and says that instead of maybe a pact with Odin. But, I mean, before that, it does show him talking with a mysterious stranger who fits the build.
for Odin.
Yeah.
But like, because I've heard a bunch of theories on the internet and whatnot, and on YouTube. But one kind of stuck out and was like, so what if Odin is like promising Atreus that he's not gonna kill his father if he does a certain thing and takes him a certain path, trying to like manipulate the situation.
To stop Ragnarok.
Yeah, and trying to like halt what they're doing. So like to try to put a pin on Ragnarok for a bit.
See, I mean, it could, but it's weird because I don't like Odin has taken so many steps to prevent Ragnarok. He bound Skull and Hati, the two great wolves that chase the sun and the moon,
Mm-hmm.
where like Mimir tells us he's already bound them so they can't devour the sun and the moon
But where's
for
Fenrir
Ragnarok.
in all this?
Exactly. And it's like cuz Fenrir is supposed to kill Odin.
Mm-hmm. And take Tyr's hand, but from what we saw from
Exactly.
the trailer,
Tyr
has
still
both
has
hands.
his hand, revealed to be alive, but has both of his hands. Fenrir technically is not born yet because,
Like the serpent,
unlike the serpent, yeah, but
but
he's
the
not.
serpent got flung back into time or
Yeah.
time traveled because
So,
of Thor.
real quick, in the game, it's talked about how the world serpent Jormungandr is technically from the future. Like his consciousness is sent back in time after Ragnarok when he's defeated.
Because Thor hit him so hard that he got flung back through the earth, shook the world tree's branches, and he flung him,
Yeah.
so it got flung back in time.
Which is an interesting concept. Now, we'll have to see because this is the final game in the Norse mythology series.
Which I really hope they would have drug it out for like a trilogy or something.
I'll get back to that, I promise. Because that deserves its own little topic. But Jormungandr exists, and he already knows what's going to happen from his timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Or future, or whatever you want to call it. So, in his eyes, he's already seen Ragnarok who knows how many times, if he remembers and has those visions. He vividly remembers Atreus. So he knows that Atreus is Loki and his father, but he doesn't really communicate and tell that, probably because there's a reason. Fenrir isn't born yet, or conceived, whatever. It's really weird in mythology, because Loki and what is her name again? Angrboda, the giantess, Loki's wife. Yeah, they conceive 3 children: Jormungandr, Fenrir, and
Sleipnir.
Hel.
Oh, never mind. Whoops.
Well, maybe 4. I feel like that one too.
Because I think that is another one of Loki's sons is Sleipnir, the 8-legged. Is it the 8-legged?
Odin's 8-legged horse.
Or is
Yeah,
it 6-legged?
I think it's 8-legged, maybe 6. Either way, I feel like 8 would make more sense because it's already a horse already has 4 legs.
I can't remember now. I'd have to go back and look.
It's one of the two, but yeah, at least 4. Well, Hela is a major one, and she hasn't been seen yet either.
Not to mention, there's a big ass eagle.
Yeah, but that also needs its own little segue.
In hell.
But I don't know if Loki Atreus would go with Odin.
You see, there's another theory that I've been hearing here recently about, like, what if there's like another Loki,
Like future Loki?
Yeah, like a future Loki, and like he came back in time and like had his kids. But I see where that would make sense because
if I'm pronouncing her name right, that would mean that there needs to be a future her. She and Atreus are teens. So if you had a time-traveling Loki as an adult, you need a time-traveling Angrboda. I said Angrboda. It's Angrboda, yeah. You would need that. Or if Loki sent his kids back in time. But then that wouldn't make any sense for Jormungandr. And Fenrir's not shown. Only a Great Wolf is shown.
But in the prequel comics, right?
Yes. If you count the prequel comics.
They explain how Kratos gets to the Norse realms about like his wife and whatnot, getting Fenrir and Skull and Hati from what I think, because it only describes them as like a big dark wolf and whatnot, and then they drag him to the Norse realms.
But they could just be great wolves, which are large wolves.
Like dire wolves?
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are them. Now, it would make sense for Fenrir just because Faye is a giant, and she already knows what's going to happen.
Not to mention Loki's mom.
Oh, yeah. But, especially Skull and Hati being that they would already be bound, though, at that point.
You think so?
Yeah, because the way that Mimir talks about how Skull and Hati are already bound, this had to have happened years before I think Kratos got to Midgard and had Atreus.
Think about it. The time travel, too. Because what if she brought... I mean, I can see where this doesn't make sense, but I'm just trying to, like, you know...
I say take prequel comics with a grain of salt. Because they also show Kratos going to Egypt. And that's a long ways away.
Could be setting up for the next game.
Obviously the next game is going to set up into a different location. Most people are saying Egypt.
Dude,
I'll get to that.
Could you imagine that, though?
Huh?
Kratos versus Anubis?
Ra. Kratos versus Ra.
Praise the sun.
But going back to Odin, this goes into a new topic. We talked about boss fights with Freya.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Odin has to be the end game somewhere. Boss fights. Who do you think would be boss fights in this game? Because obviously Freya
at some point.
Potentially Odin.
Thor, obviously, because we saw that in the trailer.
But the thing is, I think they'll have some kind of order. You'd have to go tiers, not tier, but like tiers.
Not the God of War, but you know.
And that's also a misconception, real quick. Tyr is technically not a God of War. He's given that designation in the game, but he's not a God of War. Technically, that would be Thor. Would be the God of War.
Yeah, because he is the greatest warrior
in Asgard. Before he meets Kratos. But obviously, I feel like the boss battles have to go like... You'd probably fight Freya like 2 times, I would say. Thor, obviously, probably once or twice, kind of like Baldur. You fight Baldur like 3 times.
See, now, no. Yeah, well, no.
You have the first boss fight. There's a semi-boss fight on the dragon before you go to Helheim.
Yeah, and then the final fight.
And then the final fight, which is broken up into like 2 to 3 separate regions.
Because that dragon fight throws them into Helheim. Okay, yeah. No, you're right, 3 times.
And then Odin you have to fight Odin.
Yeah, but
now, depending on how he dies, or how any of them die, if they will, something has to happen because of Ragnarok. Because, like you said, Thor dies because of Jormungandr in his fight. Odin dies at Fenrir's hands, or mouth.
Do you think that they might get Baldur back?
See, that's what I wanted to that's what I wanted to pose to you. In Norse mythology, after Ragnarok happens and after the world dies, Baldur is brought back at some point, and he is the last. He's one of the last surviving Aesir who starts the world again.
Mm-hmm. With the, I think it's like the sons of Thor, which are dead.
I think it's like the sons of Thor's sons or something like that.
No, because Magni and Modi are, I'm pretty sure, alive.
Something like that. Well, there's like young children or something like that that help start the world back or something like that. The only question is that the direction they're going?
I don't know.
Because they're taking liberties with this. Because they're inserting Kratos and Atreus.
Well, from what we know so far,
They're pretty faithful.
They've stuck close to the legends or mythos. Pretty close here so far, except for like
especially
maybe
with some of the designs.
Yeah,
minus like tattoos, like the IGN like Norse expert talks about how there's not a lot of
tattoos.
There's not a lot of evidence that say there would have been all these people with so many tattoos. They have found tattoos on like remains or like preserved tattoos of that time. I think at least one example. But it's more of, there's no real evidence that would have said, yeah, these gods would have been heavily tattooed, or anybody would have been heavily tattooed, like Baldur.
Yeah.
I think even Thor has some tattoos.
I think a little bit, not too much.
I think most of them, because I know Freya does. I know Kratos obviously has his tattoo, but that was from the Greek.
I do have one question.
Atreus has tattoos.
Though, okay, going back to like the whole Freya thing, and like you know how she has a brother.
Yeah, apparently you save him.
That's what I was going to bring
again?
up.
Freyr?
I think.
Something like that?
Freyr. Also,
all the names mess me up.
Man has a freaking sword that can fight by itself.
Yeah.
So like
the mythology is really weird.
What if we get that though? Like what if we could
doubt it. It's kind of like the ring. You remember that ring that had like
Dripnir?
Something like that. Like it was the blacksmith's ring or something.
Oh, that's not the ring I'm talking about.
But it had like his soul trapped inside or something like that.
Yeah, and he was talking to you while you did the side quest.
And you had to use it to create something.
Yeah.
It might be something like that to where it's less that you get the sword, more so that you get like a perk from it.
Yeah, I could see where that would make sense. But what if you give the sword to Atreus?
See, I don't know, because he's really good with his bow. Oh, also, there's something, speaking of, going back to kind of like bosses with Freya. In the trailer, it shows Freya grab a piece of mistletoe.
From Atreus's
From Atreus.
quiver.
But how? How does he have it? Because she got rid of it all.
No.
Except for the one that he had on his quiver. Because he had it tied.
Baldur punched.
Exactly. But it broke off. I'm pretty sure.
No.
Baldur had that piece of mistletoe. By the way, Baldur is like Achilles in Greek mythology. He couldn't be killed. Freya in the mythology made everything on the planet swear to not. Yeah, swear an oath to not harm Baldur.
Mistletoe was the youngest.
Mistletoe was the youngest and
couldn't
swear an oath, believed to be harmless, but it's the thing that kills Baldur. Both in the mythology and the game. He has that piece of mistletoe lodged in his hand after he punches. And that's where his gift, curse, whatever you want to call it, it's lifted.
Feel this.
Exactly. So how would he have it again? Unless that was just a piece or a leaf of it or something like that.
See, like, because it looks about the same as what he punched, right?
Yeah, and she tears it off.
And I'm thinking, I don't know if they would, go by the corpse and, yank it out of his hand, or if he,
No, because she took the corpse.
Or, if he, while they were fighting, it just fell out of his hand and Atreus picked it back up. I don't know.
I doubt it.
Or if they just went, or we'll probably what if we find out in this game how he gets this mistletoe and makes a necklace out of it?
Probably. I don't know if was it a necklace? Technically?
Yeah, it was a necklace.
Maybe he gets it. Maybe he finds mistletoe and does it. I mean, he originally got mistletoe from
or what if Angerboda gets
Sindri? So.
Or that.
Well, here's the thing. It looks like she picks it off of him in Midgard because there's snow.
She also has that spell on her, does she not? Still?
It might
The
have been
spell that
lifted.
Odin put on her.
Well, she's
where
able to use
like
magic.
bound to Midgard.
But she's able to use magic again. Originally, she wasn't. Like, she can't
No,
do...
she could use...
But she can't do some of her stuff. You know what I mean?
You
Like,
know,
there was a clear
transform.
limit. There's a clear limit to her that Odin put in. And yeah, she can't leave Midgard. That poses another question. How would she... Like, is she bound to Midgard? And is that, like... Does she drive us out to where we have to go somewhere else?
I don't know, because in the trailer for God of War Ragnarok, we see Kratos looking defeated and putting down his weapons in a new, what looks to be a new house. But it looks
Potentially, yeah.
like...
Well, yeah. It looks like he's... It looked like something with Tyr, to be honest.
Either that or it was in the Svartalfheim or Nidavellir or whatever you would like to call it.
Yeah. It's the same thing. It's the same realm, but it's like certain things are called this for the dwarves, the dark elves, whatever. It's really messed up. It's like... I say again, the mythology is so weird. It is so all... Kind of like this episode, it's all over the place. Like...
So many good things.
Well, it's because there's nothing written. It's all runes. It's all
Or,
passed down oral history that someone's
yeah.
written down after the fact. It's so hard to piece together because there's nothing concrete. Speaking of trying to get this episode back on track, we go places and then we kind of swerve a little bit. Let's
So many
move
good
into
ideas.
from boss battles. You brought it up a little bit. Would we get
Mjolnir.
Because if you pre-order either, I think it's like it's like a special edition,
The collector's edition and the Jotnar edition.
which we both got the collector's edition because the Jotnar edition sold out.
Fast.
Yes, but honestly, I'm kind of happy that I'm getting this just because it's mostly the same thing minus a couple of differences.
Yeah.
It's really not that big of a difference to me. Besides like a cloth map, pins, and something different.
We get like a drop near the drip near ring.
Something like that, yeah. And dice or something. Well,
Yeah.
I think we get a
We
certain
get Brock's
dice.
dice for the Jotnar,
Yeah.
and then the
We get
collectors,
carvings
you
or
get
something too,
regular
though.
dice. And
Which
then you get the Vanir twins.
Which honestly, I think that's cool in general. I collect certain special editions of games. Like I got the Ghost of Tsushima collector's edition about a year or two after it came out. Me and Clinton bought the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite collector's edition where we got the Infinity Eggs.
The Infinity Eggs.
They promoted it like you can come in, like they were actual stones and they just sit there. And it came with statues. Like, it came with 4 statues, which was really nice. I kept Chun-Li and Iron Man. Clinton has Mega Man and Carol Danvers. So, they're really nice
pretty
statues.
cool.
I have them set up. They look awesome. I've collected a couple of different, like, collector's editions for games. Not a whole lot, but a few. This one is one of the ones that I'm really excited for just because of Mjolnir.
Oh yeah, from what I've seen and whatnot.
And it's a hefty boy.
yeah.
Or girl. I don't know what you technically would call it. It's a hammer, so. Well, I mean, like boats or a car, you would call it a woman, or like a woman's name. I know in Thor Love and Thunder, he basically calls, or it's almost like a lost love,
like cheating on his girlfriend.
Yeah, so it's like I can understand certain, like definitely like vehicles or something. You would normally name it a woman's name or something like that. Like if you're a man.
But
You're a woman, you name it a man's
talks
name.
to Jane.
Yes, stuff like that. So I mean, like whatever it would be, Mjolnir. Could we? I know it's a hefty thing. In the game, do you think we'll wield it? Does Norse mythology, unlike the Marvel Norse mythology, does the hammer? Is it worthy? Because I don't think it is. I don't think there is any worthiness to it.
No, because I'm pretty sure if it's going based off the mythology,
Thor's able to pick it up.
Anybody can technically lift the hammer if
But
they're strong enough.
Thor has to pick it up with his gloves, his special gloves, and his special belt.
Yes, but if you look at his son, I think it was Magni or I think it was either Magni or Modi. But one of them, if not both of them, could lift it without any special help. So I feel like in my heart,
I think it's
Kratos
Magni.
is strong enough.
I think it's Magni because in the game, Modi talks about how Magni was always the favorite. Because he was supposed to... Or no, Modi says, I earned that hammer.
I earned it, my brother, or something.
I don't know. I feel like...
rivalry.
I think, yeah, either way... Mimir talks about it too. One of them picks it up off of the giant's head or something like that.
Not to mention, a giant stole the hammer.
Yeah. And then Thor had to get it back with Loki's help. Because he dressed up as a woman.
Transforming into a wife.
Into like Freya or Frigg.
Yeah, Freya.
Or whoever at this point because it's
with
so
a wedding dress.
Confusing. Yeah. So, I mean, could Kratos wield it?
I feel like he's strong enough.
I mean, he looks to be the strongest out of anybody.
Because, I mean, he
was able to flip the
temple.
The temple, yeah. With ease. He was able to
push the giant-ass hammer into the frozen lake.
Yeah.
And break the ice, quite literally.
In the original trilogy, he was able to do so many feats of strength against the strongest of gods.
Not to mention, he beat Hercules.
He beat Hercules to death. Then again, he had some weapons, too.
Or Heracles.
Okay, it would be Heracles, but they called him Hercules. Tangent real quick. The Greek name for Hercules is Heracles because Hera is the one that pretty much curses him from the start and makes his life a living hell.
Whoops. I said I was thinking of the Disney movie. Whoops.
Well, see, even then, it's like every depiction of Hercules in media, they use the story, but they do it in a fantasized way. I know this has nothing to do with it, but his name is Heracles because Hera, the goddess, is the one that puts so many trials on him and makes his life a living hell because Zeus cheated like he always does.
Kratos' father.
Yeah. But they use the name Hercules, which is the Roman name for Heracles, and so everybody uses Hercules instead of Heracles.
Hercules.
Being a fan, or not a fan, being someone who enjoys learning about mythologies of the past, especially Norse and Greek, more so Norse, but it's irritating when people say the wrong name because it is such like a specific thing.
Going off that note, there's a bunch of people saying how Thor isn't Thor. It's kind of Thor with like a rolling R.
Well, see,
Loki's not Loki. It's Loki.
That's just accent at that point. That is not even.
I've
never heard anyone argue that.
And then Odin is like Othin.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it depends how you write it. Yeah, if you're like Scandinavian or something, that's the way you write it. That's how you would pronounce it.
I really want to learn Icelandic.
It'd be interesting. But back on the hammer, I mean, you could. I would say, yeah, you would be able to lift it and wield it. But I don't know
would this be an
interchangeable weapon?
Yeah, or that, or would it be like a New Game Plus weapon?
I don't think it would make sense in New Game Plus. Because it's just like how you get the Blades of Chaos. It doesn't make sense in New Game Plus because you have them straight from the beginning. But you're not supposed to. You know what I mean? And it doesn't make sense when you're replaying the story when you have to get them again.
Two Mjolnirs and you're fighting Thor with.
But it's only you're fighting Mjolnir with Mjolnir, and it doesn't make any sense. But my thing is, would you be able to swap out one of your weapons? I would assume that you would swap out
swap the axe for the hammer, or swap the blades for the hammer.
I mean, you would still have them, but I feel like there would be a system to where you can swap between the three. Because you can easily swap, like, pressing up on a D-pad, down on the D-pad for the two, so...
Or, like, what if... Okay, hear me out, though. What if we give Atreus the axe, and us wield the hammer? Small. But he fucking wielded that axe in the first game. If I don't know if you remember
for
or
a split moment, yes, I believe so.
Look at all the elves the man killed.
But I don't think at this point he'd be able to, because you have a recreation, like a costume version of the Leviathan axe.
Indeed.
You literally brought it over. It's huge. It's massive. Atreus is a teenager. He's a scrawny one at that. Doesn't matter if he's half god, half mortal,
But
half...
now he knows he's a god, and now he can use that strength.
But I don't know. I don't think he can. He struggled with so many things in the original game because he was a child. Him being a teenager and still kind of scrawny.
Man,
I mean, Baldur was scrawny too, but he had strength. You know what I mean?
He became a little prick.
Atreus doesn't really show strength like that. Physical. It's more of like mental strength he has.
Fair.
So I don't know if... I don't even think Atreus would hold or wield Mjolnir. I said it really weird. Mjolnir. I don't think he would. Which goes into another point. You had mentioned something earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think it would be Egypt next? Egyptian mythology. And how would we get there?
You see, like, okay.
Because originally the fourth game, they even have a mock-up of it, was originally supposed to be set in Egypt. But they decided on Norse mythology because it'd be easier.
Because depending on whether or not you kill Odin, right?
I mean, Odin has to die.
Not necessarily.
For Ragnarok, yes, he has to die.
What if they have it to where, like,
Odin escapes or something like that?
Yeah, and you follow him to Egypt. Well, I mean, like, I know that wouldn't make sense.
No, it kind of does, because he is all-knowing. And, here's the thing. Tyr was able to travel across realms into different mythologies and take pieces of them. Because he obviously had, like, vases.
He had the Eye of Horus on that
yeah, like the
storyboard.
the storyboard for, like, the Tyr's...
Or not storyboard, but what's...
I mean, it was.
Like
it was the... like the cabinets or whatever.
Yeah, that you get
where it had the
from.
lost piece. I mean, he had a symbol for... it was a Celtic knot, it looked like.
So, like, Celtic mythology. Then the Eye of Horus for Egypt. And then
the Omega
Greek,
symbol.
The Greek Omega symbol.
For Kratos.
And
there was another one that was like...
it was like a flower.
It's like an Asian mythology.
Yeah.
So either... I think maybe Hindu. Yeah, I think maybe Hindu. Because I don't think Buddhist. I think it might be Hindu.
What has a flower as a symbol? Because that's what it was. It was a flower, I'm pretty sure.
Well, they're all symbols for the God of War.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have to be Hindu because they have different gods and goddesses. And one of them, I can't remember which one, is like... it is titled the God of War or something like that. So I think it has to be that. Or it's a different Asian mythology.
Okay, but back to the question that you posed. How do I think?
Well, you were going into it because, like, Odin could potentially flee.
Because, like, what if we don't kill Odin?
And
like,
he runs away.
Sneaks off like the little scum of the earth that he is. And, like,
well, it makes sense because if Tyr's able to travel, because he has all the trinkets and stuff in his trophy room.
Or
Odin could have potentially found it and be traveling like that to get more power.
Or if we do kill Odin, what if Tyr teaches us
if he doesn't die?
Yeah, if he doesn't die. What if he's the one that teaches us how to travel between the different
mythologies, the realms, or whatever? Yeah. I mean, it could be possible because we've already in the game jumped off the world between worlds pretty much to get to where Tyr was and like follow that little section to where it revealed the bridge and everything like that, his hidden room, to where we were able to go to Jotunheim like eventually.
Also, I had another thought, but I'll keep my thought pinned for right now. You keep going.
No, I was pretty much done. You go ahead.
Going off the basis that Odin does escape, what if he makes a deal with these other gods in Egypt, right? The Egyptian gods. To protect them. To be like, hey, there's a guy.
He's a god killer.
The ghost of Sparta is coming to get you. You better watch out.
Yeah, because if Mimir knew who the ghost of Sparta was, and they heard about him, other mythologies
to say that other mythologies don't know about him?
Yeah, because I feel like Baldur obviously didn't know who Kratos was, but Odin would, because he's the Allfather. he could make a deal. Odin could make a deal with the Egyptian gods. I guess Ra. Is it Ra or is it Horus that is the god of war? I think it's
No, because Ra is the god of the sun.
so it's Horus. He can make a deal with like that mythology, protect him, and Horus could be the one that is our ally because he's a god of war. Because Tyr, potentially.
You know, could be a whole nother, like, Odin's corrupted the entire mythology.
Well, here's my... Let me go into another theory real quick. The theory that Kratos is the one that corrupted the mythologies. Because in the original God of War trilogy, I believe it is in the first one, the first game. He opens Pandora's box
and releases the black...
He releases all of the evils in the world by accident. He does not intend to.
It just kind of sort of happened.
Yeah. That's what corrupts the gods in the Greek mythology.
Because I heard a theory about that being Odin's, like, thing. Because you know how in the first game, when you go up the mountain and there's, like, black mist.
Yeah.
And, like, I think Freya
there's a little... Yeah, she shines the light or something like that.
Corruption or
it
something.
Could be because...
Because that's a theory that I heard off of, like, YouTube.
We don't know how old Kratos technically is. I mean, he's obviously aged, and the gods of Olympus age like fine wine, just about. Most of them.
With age, becomes stronger.
Exactly. Kratos has aged heavily from where he was in the first game. Not just because of his beard, but you can see, obviously, he is aged. He is older. He is more bitter, for the most part.
But then again, he chooses not to do that, so technically he's weaker, I guess, because he's trying to suppress...
Until now, because he lets out his rage. I mean, he kills Baldur, so, I mean, and he goes full Spartan rage mode, so... But, I mean, Kratos could have accidentally put that on all of the mythology, so all the gods are bad, almost. Because he has not met a good god. Because he kills all the gods.
Especially whenever you, like, first meet Freya, or not first meet Freya, but whenever you revive Mimir's head, and he's like, "Oh, Freya, if I knew it was you, I wouldn't have asked," or something, and he's like, "You did not tell me?" Yeah. He's like, you don't have the right to not...
I feel like she's different. Because she technically doesn't turn, quote-unquote, evil until Baldur dies. So I don't think it affected her because she was sent to Midgard. But Odin could have been corrupted either before or after. I don't know.
Because it's just he corrupted the Valkyries.
Exactly. It's just a theory because it's like he opened it, but you don't know how long ago in the timeline that was to the Norse mythology. Because obviously he travels a long way. So you don't know technically when Odin would have started his stuff. You don't know how old Kratos really is. It would make sense that he's not that old because of... The games are based during certain wars, almost, in the Greek mythology. It's like the first game is based in, like, the Peloponnesian War. So it's a little different. Or one of the Peloponnesian Wars.
Because I think another thing I heard or saw was, like, one of the... another, like, concept for one of the games was, like, since all the gods on Olympus were dead, that all the other religions, or mythos... gods and goddesses would try to take over Olympus. So, like, what if that's what's gonna happen? Or, like, what if Odin tries to go back to Olympus to, resurrect?
What if Odin potentially tries to get other gods
on his side
to take over Olympus to where he's the head, where he's Zeus?
See, because that's one of the theories that I've heard for some of this stuff.
Well, real quick, adding on to that, do you think Zeus is going to play another part? Because he was shown in hell. Kratos saw him.
That was crazy.
The giant ass eagle that is in hell, that was meant to be a boss.
Was it?
Yeah. Like, I think Cory Barlog said that he was originally, or it, I should say, because I don't know technically what it is. If it's a being, if it's just an eagle, it was meant to be a boss. But they decided not to because of time. They had time constraints. So they just took it out. Obviously, it's important enough because you see it multiple times. And it
Exactly.
watches you. Especially when you're on the boat trying to get out of hell.
Yeah.
It watches you, like your every move. Obviously, that is meant to be something. What if, one, it's a boss. Two, I don't know if the eagle, I can't remember if the eagle is like specifically in the mythology. What if that is hell? Or Hela, technically.
You know, that would be interesting because
Because
most of
all of-
Loki's kids are
they're
like
animals.
anyway.
For some reason. So, potentially, could be...
That'd be an interesting concept of hell.
And, like, it could be a shapeshifter. Because it could turn into a woman after.
What if it's like a buzzard and brings all the dead people?
See, I think that was the attempt.
Down there.
Was that it was like kind of like a buzzard overwatching or overlooking everything.
Or an eagle, because that's
Yeah.
what people call it most of the time
It pretty
anyway.
much is an eagle. But it's one of those things that went unexplained. So I feel like it has a bigger meaning, and in this game, we'll go back to hell for something.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Because we get to go to all 9 realms in this new game.
And probably not just for exploration. Like, there's got to be a reason.
Because I think that I have a feeling that we're going to be recruiting people.
To the cause.
Yeah, to help fight against Odin.
Probably. And that is a good point to not bring to a close, but kind of round out something that I know I was going to talk to earlier. The last thing I want to bring up, Chance, is we talked about it a little bit earlier, or I told you to put a pin in it.
Mm-hmm.
The topic of this being the last game in the Norse saga. A bit of news that I recently watched from a YouTuber named Andy Reloads. He does some like a lot of Assassin's Creed stuff, but he does some Hogwarts Legacy, some God of War Ragnarok.
Was that the guy that you showed me today?
Yes, it is. But in a recent video, or such, not really recent, but a couple weeks ago, in a video that he posted talking about like details about Ragnarok, he talked about how one of the, I think, game directors for it discussed how not only is this the final game of the Norse saga,
Mm-hmm.
this is also the final game with Atreus and Kratos. So going forward, one of them is not going to be in the games.
I got my hands on Loki. I got all my dice on Loki not living through this.
One of them is probably they're going to either die, one of them, or they'll just go their separate ways. Which is interesting to think about, seeing that the mural at the end of God of War 2018 has an image of Loki, Atreus, kneeling over Kratos' dead body.
They can't kill.
Presumably.
They can't kill the dad of war.
See, that's what I think too. I don't feel like you can kill off Kratos. Because if you
So
kill off
many
Kratos,
people are gonna get.
that's your flagship for the series. Not everybody is. A lot of people like Atreus.
Yeah, but
I don't know
Kratos.
if he can, carry the series, depending on how many games. I feel like either they're gonna kill Atreus and keep the theme going of Kratos loses everything,
Either that.
or they just go their separate ways and Atreus goes to do whatever, maybe restart the Norse pantheon, just like how Ragnarok, because Loki technically doesn't die in Ragnarok.
How it possibly should be.
Yeah.
Without the corruption.
Exactly. And Kratos goes on somewhere else to maybe hunt someone down like Odin if he's escaping the Pantheon and you don't kill him. Or something like that. Or maybe one of them does die. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that they don't go kill one of them, because that would be sad. Especially with the way the mural goes. Because it does have Atreus alone with a wolf. So unless Kratos turns into Fenrir somehow, and
a reincarnation type thing.
Yeah, Andy Reloads also goes into potential time travel within God of War Ragnarok, because he's talking about there's a dimension in between the realms that Kratos is in where he's fighting the Valkyries.
Mm-hmm. Like the beginning of the universe.
Well, it is a realm in between the worlds. So it's kind of like the world between worlds in Star Wars. where it's a space in between the realms. Like, I think even on the map that they give you, the cloth map in the collector's edition, it shows like Yggdrasil.
It's in between.
I think Nidavellir and something else.
No,
I think.
It's been
Or no, it's Niflheim and Muspelheim.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of.
Because I think that's supposed to be like the beginning of time in the Norse
something like
mythos.
That. So Kratos could be going back in time or something or accidentally goes back in time, who knows. And the Valkyries try to stop him because I don't remember if that part of the trailer has Atreus or not.
Yes, it does, because the Valkyries are beating up on Atreus.
Well, they're beating up on Kratos because it's only 2 of them, but
yeah, but whenever he gets like flung off the edge or whatever, and like he's hanging
okay,
on,
then yeah,
and,
maybe.
Like, he's beating...
So something's happening there, and there could be some time travel involved because, like we said multiple times, Jormungandr time travels somehow.
And what we believed to be Fenrir in one of the other trailers that they released.
And see, that's not even.
You can't say that it's not Fenrir.
Well,
it's
not. Well, the only reason I'm saying something is because that trailer that it shows, just like God of War 2018, there was a little gameplay trailer that shows them fighting a bunch of things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's part of the game. So it could be teasing Fenrir, but that's not how Fenrir would probably show up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But obviously something is happening. Something, possibly time travel, whatever. Something big's happening. And one of the game directors or developers, I can't remember the titles for them, like that was stated, said that we haven't seen anything yet. So the trailers that we have been given, and if there's anything, leading up to the game in the little bit that we have, we could potentially have a lot of stuff in store. Because we also don't know how, like, Skull and Hati get released. We don't know, like, how much Tyr is involved, if he lives.
Not to mention the dragons.
The dragons, yeah, because I think
that we freed
in the gameplay, the, like, 10 minutes of gameplay or whatever, they do show, like, the dragons and stuff again or something.
They sure,
in, like, Nidavellir. That is such a hard word to say. And it was hard to say it when, like, Infinity War came out, because technically that's where Eitri was. So it's like, ugh. It's so hard to say, especially old, like, just old Scandinavian Norse stuff. It's really hard to say. But I wonder how would dragons traverse through the realms? That'd be interesting to see.
On the cloth, if you looked at the cloth map, I'm pretty sure there's like a dragon symbol in Asgard.
Ooh, there's probably a dragon in Asgard. Ooh,
my brain went to like, what if like the dragons that we freed in the 2018 game, or
before.
They're more freeable dragons in this game. But then again, what if those dragons that we freed in the first game come to attack us in the new game?
Potentially. Because it has been...
Or aid us in some way.
It has been, and I looked this up during our discussion. The game does take place 3 years after 2018 God of War. Okay. Because he does say that Fimbulwinter sets in it lasts for 3 summers.
Yeah.
So, 3 years.
Okay.
So, I mean, we could potentially, if Ragnarok does what it's supposed to, Loki could die, Atreus could die, Kratos could die somehow. But then again, like I said, or like we said earlier, Mimir does say that the prophecy didn't count on Kratos and
like
Atreus.
Another 300 years or something.
Well, just in general, it didn't. The prophecy didn't count on Kratos showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So Ragnarok could go in a different way just because of him being putting it into motion, everything happening. So, especially with Odin taking the precaution and the steps to prevent everything from happening.
Kratos comes in. Yo, I'm gonna f*** up your timeline.
Pretty much. I mean, he did with the Greeks. So why not? He did it to his own people. He killed his own people. So, killed his father. Why not kill somebody else's father for a change?
The all-father of anything.
But I think that'll do it, Chance. So, final thoughts on God of War Ragnarok before it comes out 1 week from now.
Really, 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 really excited.
Are you more excited about the game, or are you more excited about holding the hammer?
A little bit of both.
Okay, fair enough. Well, that'll do it from us at the LA Do Podcast. I, of course, am one of your co-hosts, Dalton. You can follow me on Instagram at LA Do Brand. You can follow Clinton, our other co-host, on Instagram at Clinton Wells 2001. Chance?
And I am Chance Cummings, and you
The
can follow
musical
me.
engineer.
Yeah, and then you can follow me at Chance Cummings 507 on Instagram.
And of course, you can watch us or listen to us on YouTube. Just look up the LA Do Podcast, and also go check out our wrestling podcast, the LA Do Wrestling Podcast, also on YouTube. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.
See you, dudes!